has an R2S solid reactive cover stock, and we prepped it with a 2000 pad finish. This bowling ball will cut through oil like no other. As you're watching the Highroad Solid go down the lane, note how deep I'm playing. This design has a very thick shell, and what that means is that there's actually more energy transferred from the bowling ball to the pins upon impact. So you're going to see the pins move around with more energy because of this technology. The brand new Optimist. As you know, Storm's committed to outstanding research and development, and you'll see here a couple of key components that are like no other. R2X Pro reactive cover stock, we've used this before. It's a very strong, aggressive, proven cover stock that glides very easily through the heads and creates a very strong transition at the break point. So what's brand new is our tri-sphere core. There's nothing like it. You'll see a lot of development that comes out of this building here in Brigham City, a lot of cool development. In this shape, you're going to see a different motion on the lane that you haven't seen before. As you're watching the Optimist go down the lane, notice that ball create that strong mid-lane reaction. You can actually see that weight block in there creating a lot of energy throughout that 20 to 40 foot part of the lane.
Hi everybody, I'm Randy Pedersen and welcome to Bowl Expo 2014 here at the Orlando Convention Center. Excuse me. We've got a great cast of characters once again. To my immediate left, the Vice President of Sales, Hank Boomershine. Hank, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Randy. Thanks for having me. It's always nice to get to be here at Bowl Expo and see some great people and get to chat with a few great individuals to my left.
Yeah, we're going to have a great time today. Joining us once again, Victor Marion, who is the Director of Research and Development. I like to call him the mad scientist. Arguably the smartest guy I've ever met. Victor, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Randy.
Rhino Page, PBA champion, sitting next to Victor, and then, of course, the reigning Player of the Year, and just an absolute superstar from down under. He's got a stranglehold on Player of the Year honors again this year, Jason Belmonte.
Thanks, boys.
You getting bored with us?
No, not at all. This is bloody brilliant, this idea, this Storm Live. I think this is exactly what Expo needed, you know? I think this is a great idea.
Well, the reason why we're here today, guys, is to talk about the two new ball releases, and we're going to start with Optimist. And I've thrown Optimist. I know you two have thrown Optimist, and I think we have some video. We're going to show some video, and then we're going to talk about Optimist. So let's take a look at the new Optimist video.
Hi, I'm Steve Klemkin, Storm's Technical Director, and we're here to present to you the brand new Optimist. As you know, Storm's committed to outstanding research and development, and you'll see here a couple of key components that are like no other. R2X Pro reactive cover stock, we've used this before. It's a very strong, aggressive, proven cover stock that glides very easily through the heads and creates a very strong transition at the break point. So what's brand new is our tri-sphere core. There's nothing like it. You'll see a lot of development that comes out of this building here in Brigham City, a lot of cool development. In this shape, you're going to see a different motion on the lane that you haven't seen before. It has a lot more motion in the mid lane, and it complements the Marvel Pearl very nicely. You're going to see this shape, you're going to see a lot of tumbling, a lot of motion, a lot of action in the middle of that bowling ball that creates a lot of that strong motion and tip at the break point. And you'll still see that strong continuation through the back end and through the pins that you've come to love from Storm. As you're watching the Optimist go down the lane, notice that ball create that strong mid-lane reaction. You can actually see that weight block in there creating a lot of energy throughout that 20 to 40 foot part of the lane. And when you talk to the professional bowlers, they'll come back to the same thing. They'll tell you the mid lane is where ball motion is really created. And that's what this new tri-sphere core does. And many of you have probably thrown as well the Marvel Pearl and the IQ Tour Fusion. These have been tremendous, tremendous bowling balls in our line. And the Optimist is going to be just as good, but in a different way. The Optimist creates more roll in the mid lane, picks up and gives that mid lane read just a little bit stronger and earlier, but still continues down lane. Still gives you that good backhand reaction that you've come to love from Storm. As you're watching the ball go through the pocket, notice how low it keeps the pins. That's the other thing. When you're looking at optimum pin carry, you're looking at the pins that are going to be able to knock around the other pins that are still on the deck the best. And the ones that are in the air are going to fly right over them or in front of them. You want to keep the pins low and you want to keep them on the deck, and the Optimist does that. Now make sure you get to your local Storm VIP Pro Shop soon. It is going to be available on July 1st, so you want to make sure you get your reservation in early because, again, the demand is very, very high. And thanks again for all your support. We really do appreciate it. And remember to always bowl up a storm.
All right, guys, well, that's some great stuff from Steve Klumpkin. But Hank, why don't you take us through the conception of Optimus?
Well, I mean, Optimist, it's one of those balls that it's a master line ball. We were looking for another low RG, high differential bowling ball. We've had great success with the centripetal core, a core that has seen great success in Marvels, Marvel Pearls, and a variable on it when we went to the IQ Tours and the Fusions. So we've had a lot of great success with that part, but we were looking, we needed another part similar to that, but with a couple little different designs and concepts that would create a little different motion, enhancement. Anytime that we look at trying to develop a new product, we're always trying to look at what we have success with and how can we improve upon the success, but not take away from it also too, because sometimes you can get a little too carried away and try to get too much of a good thing. You know, when your golf swing gets too good and sometimes it gets bad. Sometimes you get a little too much. And so Victor and I, we talk a lot. We communicate back and forth a lot about ideas and concepts with all the lines of Storm and Roto Grip. And he came to me and he said, hey, I got a really unique idea for a symmetrical ball. And I said, well, Vic, I know you're something unique because you're unique to begin with. But he said, I got a really unique idea and I think it's something that's going to be really good. And so we talked a little bit about it and I said, hey, let's roll with it. And so there you see it to the left. It's an amazing piece, and it's already had some success. We've seen and a little bit in the summer swing, but some in the senior events. Hopefully we'll get a chance to talk to Pete a little bit off the side with Fagan. But I think Vic needs to kind of go through the brain trust of what went into this one.
All right, thanks, Hank. So what I've been working on here was the concept between the IQ and the IQ Tour, the Marvel S. You know, we've had that design and it's been a really true rolling, very good weight block. But I had this idea that I thought I could take it to the next level. That whole rounded shape, the centripetal core, it was very clean through the front parts. It had that strong mid lane. But what I was really thinking of is how can I get a little bit more continuation through the pins? Because that's the one thing that all of the Storm covers do really well is we get good read and we get good back-end reaction. So I'm looking for the next level. What's that next generation? That was part of the VLS system, was how do we use the weight block technology to our benefit. So in this particular shape, I started thinking about physics and the terms behind the physics. Whenever we're solving an equation, they think of a mass like this as an individual point. It's a space, it's a dot that has weight and mass. And that's how you can solve these mathematical equations. Well, what I started thinking about was a wheel or how it rotates. And if you take a wheel in physics, you don't take an entire wheel, the entire circle. What they do is they take individual points and they give those points weight. And then they can solve the mathematical equations. Well, I started thinking about this design and I started thinking about individual points. So in this particular weight block, what I did is I designed it so that we have basically a 3-point pyramid on the top and a 3-point pyramid on the bottom that balance each other out, creating a symmetrical, yet it still has these individual high RG points around it. So what does that really mean, or what was the concept behind it? The idea was once this ball gets into a roll, each one of these points has a continually rolling or high RG essence to them. So In theory, that high RG means more energy when it gets to the pins, means more continuation through the pins, a little bit better as far as it actually goes through. Where's the exit angle through those pins? Something that has been studied lately.
Sure, and some people would look at it and go, well, if you look at the shape, sometimes it might look like it's a little asymmetrical, but it is truly a symmetrical core. I mean, we had a similar concept a few years ago, if you remember, dimension parts. And that core was a little different in the way it was set up too, a little more of a twisted, symmetrical core. Now the key element, like you just talked about, was we want to try to create continuation through the pins. And we know that Belmo really likes when a ball hits hard, because that makes him strike more. So, and I know he's probably got to throw this a little bit, and he could probably elaborate a little bit more on that as we get to that. But no, a neat concept, neat design. And I think the thing to remember is it's coming out in July. We're going to keep the marble pearl in. We're not taking that out. It's still a staple for these guys over here on tour. But this is a ball that's going to fit into that line and enhance it more than anything else. And like I said, Pete's already had some great success with it in some of the senior events, and I think Norm shot 300 in the Masters with it, or the Open. Norm shot 300 in the U.S. Open with the Optimist out of nowhere, playing the gutter when everybody else was playing left, which is kind of unique.
But guys, let me ask you a question. I think I get this a lot. How long from the beginning of this concept to this product, how long did it take?
14 months.
Yeah, this one was upwards of 14, 15 months.
So 15 months to develop this bowling ball.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
Well, as I said, you have each one of these individual points, and the way they interlocked in with each other, it was really difficult to try and balance the gyrodynamics of the entire equation, because if we look at it on its side, from your perspective, Randy, if we look at it, there's very high peaks, multiple peaks, but we don't want just a high RG part. We have other balls in our product line that are specific to being just high RG. So I wanted the high RG dynamics of these 6 individual points to balance each other, but on the flip side, I also wanted it to be a very low RG early reading part, because part of what made the Marvel and the Marvel Pearl in particular so good was the fact that it was low RG and it just read the mids so clean.
Right.
So it was a very difficult process trying to balance that low RG read and roll, but also integrate high RG points onto the particular shape to give it that continuation through the pins.
Pretty amazing stuff, and to think that it takes 15 months to come up with a product. I mean, this isn't something you just throw together. No. A lot of thought, a lot of process went in the making of Optimus.
Testing
Absolutely.
and retesting.
Yeah, I mean, we did a tremendous amount of testing before it ever got to cover. I mean, we had to get the shape right, we had to get the motion right, and then we go to, okay, now which cover do we want to introduce it on first? And you notice we went with the R2X Pearl first, because we felt that we wanted to bring this out as a Pearl to start, because we have a good solid Marvel S in the line, and it was like, hey, Marvel Pearl's been there a while, so it's time to move into another Pearl. So which cover stock matches up best? So we R2S, R2X, R3, we even at R3X, and we tried a few different ones, and we felt based on the core shape, mass, and cover stock, and you're looking at friction numbers, and where does it want to grab the lane? R2X was one that matched up best. I mean, Vic throws a lot of science, and it just went right over the top of a few people's head. But the biggest thing you got to remember is what we're trying to do is to create mid-lane roll and continuation. The thing that these guys need the most is the ball to continue through the pin deck, because we know that the half pocket hit, we want to get the head pin to come across the wall to take the 10 out, or we want to kind of get the 7 to kind of roll late. And for Rhino on the other side to get the blower 10 to kind of go with it as well too. Right. So it's trying to give these guys a different look.
Sure.
And many times we take those feedback from what we see from them when we travel out to the tour, and just from our staffers, our pro shops, saying, hey, we love that, but we'd like to see something a little bit more. And so that's where this came from.
I've got to say something before we I'll send it off to Pete here at some point, is with all the math and science that I try and throw into it, I really like solving the equations and having the proof and the theorems behind it, the idea. But ultimately, my very first experience ever with Pete Weber on tour, I tried using all of the math and science and layout stuff, and he just said, Vic, I don't care. I just want it to go through the pins. And that's always been the way that I look at the final product, is how does it go through the pins?
Sure.
And
it needs to hit hard.
That's the essence of it. How does it go through the pins? So
that's what you hear on tour all the time, and it's the difference between averaging 240 for a block and averaging 210, and it's getting your bowling ball to go through the pins the right way. Rhino, I know you've had some experience with Optimus. Where does it fit into your arsenal?
know, to me, it's one of those balls where I can actually use it on multiple patterns, unlike most low RG balls. Low RG balls have been a little bit more difficult for me to get them through the pins. I can get them to the pocket, but to get that carry has been tough. With this particular ball, as they talk about the continuation, I mean, I left a couple stone 8 pins, and as you know, since I've come back from surgery, my rev rate's not very high. And, you know, to leave a solid 8 pin, I felt like kind of macho, man, you know. So it's one of those balls to me that's very versatile. It's clean through the front, and it reads that mid lane exactly like we want it to on tour, so we can control the pattern rather than let it control us.
Sure. And Jason, you've thrown it, obviously. What does the shape and the motion look like to you?
Well, it's for me, it is just like the boys have said, it's a compliment to the Marvel Pearl. At the Summer Swing, especially for the Oklahoma TV show, I had a Marvel Pearl and an Optimist with me, and one of the things that I noticed while bowling throughout the entire swing was when the Marvel Pearl seemed like it just wasn't enough down lane. Like I needed that ball to continue just a little harder without me having to manipulate the ball at the release too much. I had the opportunity to throw the Optimist, and it did exactly that for me. I loved how you showed the ball like a wheel there on the side, and if I knew that when I threw it, when I originally saw it the first time, the way you explained it then, it would have made so much more sense, because I was like, how is this ball doing this? Because the Marvel Pearl for years has always made that shape for me, and whenever it didn't, I would just try to create a little bit more manipulation. And then I started throwing this, I'm like, well, how do they get it to do that? Because it looks very similar to the first 35 feet for me personally. And then when it got to the spot, it just looked a little bit more like a high road for me. Like it actually picked up and kept on going through the pin. So I'm like, wow, now I have a ball in my arsenal that is going to read the lane earlier than the high road series. But when I need to get it to that spot, it's going to come off it without me having to make it do it personally. This is going to be a ball that I'm going to be throwing a lot in my career. I can imagine it. But I will say one thing about Victor. I often wonder when Victor's sitting at his desk working if there are like numbers falling like the beautiful mind concept. You know, sure. I wonder when he's working, it's just this collaboration of numbers and letters all coming together like a beautiful puzzle, because it must be difficult for you to talk to guys like me. Like you must have to say right now, translate that into simple language. Okay, now he'll understand me.
Well, Belmonte, I will tell you, I've walked into that office many times, and he's sitting in a high chair like this with his legs crossed, because he is part Indian, and he's sitting there with his legs crossed, and he's got his head tilted back, and he's looking up, and I walk in and I go,
What's he looking at?
And he goes, just a minute. Okay, what's up?
Must be tough. It really must be tough for you to have to dumb it down all the time, Victor. Hey, listen, there's another player that's thrown Optimus a lot, and he's standing by with Mike Fagan.
Hey guys, thanks. Standing here, you might know this man. He's been around the block a few times, but we're talking Optimist right now. We're talking the red, white, and blue colors here. Perfect for July 4th weekend. Great opening day. But the reaction looks fantastic as well. Pete, what are you seeing out of the new Optimist?
Well, the new Optimist, Mike, it's been fantastic for the 2 tournaments that I used in the Senior U.S. Open and the Senior Masters. I led the qualifying with the Optimist at the Senior U.S. Open. It just seemed that in the mid lane, the ball really rolled. But when it started hooking, it didn't really snap. It just kind of rolled up to the pins and went right through them. In fact, I left more solid 9s than I did 10 pins during the 2 tournaments. So I'm just really loving this ball. The pin-up ball, the pin-down ball, they roll a lot alike, but it just, the way it goes through the pins and hits the pins, I'm in love with the ball.
The ball looks fantastic. I'm loving it too. We've got a lot of great feedback so far from it, so definitely make sure you stop by your pro shop and pick one up when it comes out July 1st. Thanks, guys. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Mike Fagan and Pete Weber. So there you have it, the Optimist, really, really good stuff. Release date July 1st?
July 1st, yep.
All right, well, there you have it, folks. We're going to segue now into our next new release, and it is Highroad Solid. Hank, take it away.
I mean, Highroad Solid, it's one of those, an FE2 core. We've been using this core, or a derivative of this core, since the 90s. And some people want to give you maybe a little flack for using the same part, but you know what? This weight block's won more titles across the globe than probably anything in the last 15 years. So it's one of those things you just keep using a good part, you keep enhancing the cover, because the market, it's still going to roll well. I mean, we've had great success with Highroads, Highroad Pearls, back to Victory Roads, back to T-Roads. You know, we can keep going back all the way to Thunder Roads, things like that, the road balls. Chevrolet's been making a 350 for 50 years, it seems like, and so, you know, they still put it in a lot of cars. So the motor is still a great motor. But we just, once again, we felt like we needed a solid reactive and a Thunderline ball that was an R2S cover, a good reactive cover, a sanded finish, because we've had some others in the line, and we just, you know, we wanted something that we knew would be a little more continuous off the spot, because we know the FE2 is a little more continuous off the spot. Great success with Highroads, Highroad Pearls, and I know the guys to the left have had tremendous success with some of those Highroad balls, but it was just kind of to us, it was a no-brainer. The pros were asking for it again. The pro shops were asking for it again. The consumers were saying, hey, when are you going to come out with a Highroad Solid? So there you have it, July 1st, it's out and about.
And guess what? We have video on the new Highroad Solid. Let's take a look.
Hey everyone, I'm Steve Klemkin, Storm's Technical Director, and I've got 3 gems in front of me. The original Highroad. This ball's been in production now for almost 6 years. It's the most winning Storm ball in the history of the PBA Tour. You're familiar with it, you've probably owned 3 or 4 of them by now. This ball is that good. The Highroad Pearl. This ball creates ball motion from the back end like no other. This goes from the break point through the pins with a huge amount of entry angle. We introduced this ball last year to you, and the response on this bowling ball has been tremendous. Now the demand that you guys have had for the Highroad Solid has been like no other. You guys have been asking for this ball for quite some time. So here it is, it's coming out on July 1st, has an R2S solid reactive cover stock, and we prepped it with a 2000 pad finish. This bowling ball will cut through oil like no other. As you're watching the Highroad Solid go down the lane, note how deep I'm playing. This bowling ball allows me to get a little bit deeper because it creates that much more total ball motion than I would be with the original Highroad or the Highroad Pearl. One of the advantages of the design of all of the balls in the Highroad series is the inverted FE2 technology weight block. This design has a very thick shell, and what that means is that there's actually more energy transferred from the bowling ball to the pins upon impact. So you're going to see the pins move around with more energy because of this technology. Another advantage of the Highroad Solid is that it has a lot of texture, but it also has a lot of continuation through the back end. Sometimes you put a lot of texture on a bowling ball and it will read the mid lane nicely, but it actually will slow down on the back end. But you can see here that the Highroad Solid continues through the pocket very aggressively. You know, a lot of people ask why the Highroad series is so popular. And the answer is this: versatility. And the one thing you'll notice, you know, I do talk a lot with Del Ballard, our PBA Pro Tour consultant, and he has a saying about the Highroad, and he says that
the lane always comes to a Highroad.
Well, the funny thing is now we have a Highroad Solid, which you can use before the lane comes to the Highroad. So when you're considering your next ball purchase, make sure you look at, you know, you want to analyze, okay, what's my game? What kind of lane conditions am I going to be bowling on? What kind of purpose am I looking for out of this bowling ball? And if you are looking for a bowling ball that's going to give you a lot of hook, a lot of traction, a lot of ball motion for your buck, then the Highroad Solid is it. It's got an R2S 2000 pad prep finish and has the inverted FE2 technology. It's some of the best technology that we have. It's proven technology. The ball's going to be available on July 1st. You got to make sure you go visit your local Storm VIP Pro Shop and reserve one today. And thank you again, as always, for your support. We really do appreciate it. And remember to always bowl at the Storm.
right, guys, so great stuff in that video, and Hank, you've already touched a little bit on the Highroad. Victor, what would you like to add to the new Highroad Solid?
Well, I'd like to add that I always love a good challenge, absolutely. You know, looking at the centripetal, talking about the Optimist, trying to move forward with the next generation. I don't know how I reinvented the wheel, but I think I did a good job on that one. But the Highroad, man, this is the greatest thing. I'm not exactly sure how we're going to redesign it and make it even better, because it's years and years and years. It's got a legacy. It rolls so good. It's so clean. So I'm not giving up, but I can tell you what, that is truly an amazing weight block. Just so predictable, so true. So I'll just pass it off to these guys to my left who have thrown it copious amounts.
It's a proven combination that works. And Jason, while we were watching the video, you had made mention of the fact that at the Oklahoma Open during the summer swing, that Chris Loshutter actually threw all 3 high roads in one game.
Yeah, and I think that just goes to show you like the versatility of the high road range. You know, that within one game, if need be, he had 3 high roads, all that were completely different based off their covers, with a really good engine on the inside. One of the things that I commend Storm with about the high road is we're not afraid to, you know, we don't have to push the envelope when we don't need to. You know, when we have a proven quality product, I won my very first pro title using a high road on the left lane, and that was in 08, 09. And I was using it well before then as well. And to see a ball that continually wins and wins, we aren't afraid to say this is a great product, and we're going to keep putting it out there to the public until the public stops wanting to throw it. And I'm not sure when that day is going to be, but now that we have a solid cover around that core, I used the Highroad Solid at the summer swing heavily when I really needed to make sure that I had a ball that I could control down lane. With that surface, it really was able to slow it down for me. I didn't have to do anything too tricky with my hand. I just let the ball do its thing, and like Hank says, it hits real hard.
Right. You know, and for me, the Highroad, when it first came out, was kind of the benchmark ball because of its predictability. Right. And when I throw a Highroad Solid, it's the same kind of thing. It slows down enough so I can get a really good read on the lanes, and I know what the ball is going to do when it leaves my hand. Rhino, what was your experience been like with the new Highroad Solid?
Well, the most important part about your arsenal is having a benchmark ball, and this ball has become my benchmark, hands down. In fact, I can't wait to drill more of them because it's so good. And in fact, I ended up throwing it on the PBA Bear Open show just because of that. You know, it's a flat pattern, and that ball controlled the pattern, gave me exactly what I was looking for. And you know, God knows we don't want a lot of angle when the pattern's flat, that it ends up in splits.
Something that you can control is vital on a difficult flat oil pattern. And I think, you know, by watching the video, you can really see just how smooth the motion was coming out of Steve Plumpkin's hand. And I think that's kind of the thing that really sticks out for me when you look at the Highroad series. It's just that predictability. You know what the ball is going to do. You know, there's another player that knows a little bit about the Highroad series, and we're going to send it down to Mike Fagan. He's got a guy that's going to tell us a little bit about Highroad. Oh, you know what? They're not ready yet, but they're going to throw it back to me when they are, so stand by on that. They're getting set up. You know, the other thing that's it's just a wonderful thing to have in terms of being able to do what you want to do to the surface.
Right.
You know, we go a little bit, obviously the finish out of the box is going to slow that down, but if you want the ball to scoot a little bit farther down the lane, go ahead and shine that Highroad Solid up. It's going to give you a couple extra feet down lane and just a little bit more in the back. And again, it's the versatility of a proven engine and obviously a great cover stock.
Just like Optimist, you could go the other way with it too.
Right, exactly. All right, guys, guess what? Now they're ready. Let's send it down to Mike Fagan.
Thanks, Randy. I'm standing here with two-time PBA champion and Latin and South American sales rep, Andres Gomez. And Andres actually used the Highroad in both of his victories on the PBA Tour. So how does this new Highroad Solid, how are you anticipating this release?
Well, I had a chance to try it during the summer swing, and I was very, very happy with it. I think they did a terrific job. what I saw was that with the Highroad, I really is my favorite bowling ball because it allows me to slow down, move left, stay right. You know, it allows me so much versatility without having to really change my game. And then when I tried the Highroad Solid, I saw that usually I don't really like solid bowling balls just because I like to throw it slow. And this ball actually, the Highroad Solid, allowed me to still be slow, it gave me length, and still get me continuous motion on the back end and the mid part of the lane. So I don't know how you can get better than that. Like Victor said, I think he was a terrific job, terrific bowling ball, and we're definitely gonna get to use it a lot.
It seems like we can actually build a whole arsenal around the Highroad family now. We have our full line, and it looks like a fantastic piece that's gonna add to that in our versatility. So we'll send it back to you guys. Thanks a lot.
All right, guys, thanks. You know, I can't listen to Andres Gomez enough. And if he ever decides to step away from a professional bowling career, do you have any idea how much money he could make as a hypnotist? He's just got the pipes, right? Man, it's good stuff. Thanks, Andres.
You just sink into the pillow, right?
Right? I mean, I'm sitting here listening to him going, oh, I'm so relaxed. All right, guys, listen, we're gonna now talk about the whole product line from top to bottom. And Hank, starting with the Premier line, and guys, just kind of chime in where you feel like it. And we're going to start with the Premier line, and in the Premier line is zero gravity and bite. So Hank, take us through the Premier line, why we have what we have there, and then maybe tease us with something that may be coming down the road anytime, or not. It's up to you.
Well, anything we're trying to do is we're trying to make a very complete line within the Premier line as well as in the whole Storm and Roto Grip line. In the Premier line in the zero gravity, it came out earlier this year, and it was something that was quite unique in trying to give you a high performance ball, but with not quite as much differential. So we had great success with Shape Lock HD and those things, and we were trying to make an adjustment to still get a performance proven core that you saw in virtual gravities and things like that. But to raise the RG a little bit, lower the diff a little bit, and cut the intermediate, so that it was something that still gave us predictability or predictability off the spot like an asymmetrical, but continuation more like a symmetrical. So it kind of trying to use the best of both worlds in that zero gravity. And it's had some great success, and I'll let these guys talk a little bit about it, but I'll go through both of them first. The Bite, a totally different product that we were trying to raise the RG a little bit to have so now you have a low RG ball that's going to rate early. We had that in the sink, and we needed a ball that would float a little bit more, but still have very, angular motion off the spot in a high-end asymmetrical, and we did that with a Bite in the G2 generation. And then we needed something that was a little smoother through transitions, and that was the zero gravity. So in the Premier line, you have a pretty versatile arsenal just across that one line of products. So that's not even for the whole, that's just in a Premier line. So, and that's, between myself and Victor, we try really to listen to what these guys have to say, to try to, develop and bring products to the market that fit and not just throw things at the wall and hope they work.
Sure.
So.
Well, on that, what I can really tell you is when we established the VLS system and we were studying the physics of weight block dynamics and motion, the one thing we know is there's certain layouts and certain ways we can get balls to shape up that will maximize the potential energy going into the pins, how it goes through the pins. But there was one big problem is higher rev bowlers, or if you don't have the right volume of oil, you can't use the high-end equipment. And unfortunately, those asymmetrical shapes, those are what the VLS really shines around, is because we can manipulate exactly when and where and how that weight block wants to roll. But if you take something like the Sync we released, super strong, super high asymmetrical, high diff, high cover, that thing will hit like a tank, but you have to have the right amount of oil, and your rev rate can't be so exceptionally high if you don't have the volume, and it kind of got in a situation to where we couldn't use it every time, all the time. So we knew we were losing some of the technology of weight block dynamics. Right. So then enters the theory behind the zero gravity and the Bite, using asymmetric shapes, but take them down a little bit, let them get through the front part through higher RG, a little bit less flare, that way they don't shape up quite as fast, so we can still fine-tune and custom-tune it, but now it gives us something in the high-end, strong motion that we can really get to go through the pins well, but something that can be used on a wider range of conditions.
I think one of the interesting things about zero gravity for me was I used it in the first two senior events of the season. The first being in Newport Richey. I want to say it was, I think it was somewhere around 39, 40 feet. And I mean, it just looked so good. The very next week we bowled on Cheetah, and I was able to use zero gravity again. So the versatility of that ball, the shape, the motion, I mean, it looked really, really good for me. What do you guys see with zero gravity?
I'm seeing something very similar to you. And one thing that I've learned in the last year is I tend to like bowling balls with lower differentials. And when I saw that ball was coming out and it was a higher RG to help me through the fronts, but still not continue too much, I was really, really happy. And I've been very happy with that ball because, you know, one thing on my side of the lane, we don't have a lot of traffic, so we have to look for miss room to the inside a lot of times or shim. And that lower differential really allows me to take advantage of that with that ball.
Pretty much what Victor was saying about the sink ball. I had a bit of success with the Lucid, but the one problem I had with that high-end Premier liner ball was once it made me go further left of 20, the engine, the cover, the shape that I was looking for would really die down lane. And I used to really frustrate me because I used to love the way the ball would go through the pins. Then I started using the zero gravity, and I led the qualifying stages at the USBC Masters with it. I've pretty much used it every opportunity that I can. I used it on 52 foot of oil at the Summer Swing, and there I was lofting the left gutter, playing well deep. The Masters, I was almost at the left gutter, and that was the advantage that I found with this particular ball, with the shape locked core. It let me get left of 20 and still see a shape down lane that allowed me to open up the lane a little bit more. So the guys with higher rev rates, we could now use something with all of the bells and whistles on it and really, you know, help give us an advantage getting that ball to go through the pin. So I absolutely love it. The bite, not as much for me, but one guy that I noticed uses it quite a lot and has had a lot of success with it is Dominic Barrett. He won the title there in the World Series, the World Championship, for his first major using it. I see him use it a lot, and with that particular cover on the ball as well, Dom is a great player at being able to manipulate his release and be very soft at the bottom. So he was able to get left of 20 with a ball like the bite, be really soft with it, and let the ball do all the work. So basically the zero gravity for me and the bite for guys like Dom, between the two of us and between the two different balls, we're able to create something with a high-end ball left of 20, which I don't think anyone else out there in the market can do. And obviously, it's a little bit different for Rhino, being left-handed, but he also has the ability, I've seen you use the bite a little bit, you also have the ability to not have to force a high-end ball when you move a little further right, which you may be one of the only few lefties that can get that far right. You're still able to use a high-end ball and create that awesome reaction down lane with the ball.
Guys, excuse me, we only have about 5 more minutes to get through the entire line.
Oh my God.
I just wanted to add, I think
it's our show. We can go longer, right?
You're the boss. We can do whatever you say. I think what's really interesting is that extremely high rev guy,
Right.
plenty of revs, and a lower rev guy, all finding success with the same
What I
bowling
was
ball.
talking about was you have that blend across just one line that works for a lot of different players.
Yep.
And that's what we're always looking at is some people would say, virtual gravity, one of the most successful balls we ever had, but you didn't see a lot of them go down the lanes on TV. It was just sometimes a little too much ball for these players.
Right.
So we had to develop something that fit for those high rev players like Vic was talking about.
Let's talk about the master line. A lot of bowling balls in the master line.
IQ. That's all we need to say. IQ. We're done, right?
IQ. Well, we now have a new addition,
It's the
Optimist.
intellectual choice.
Right. Well, the Optimist, we talked about that.
Right, we got Optimist. But you got IQ.
And the three IQs.
The 3 IQs.
Right.
And let's not forget Marvel Pearl, Marvel S.
Correct.
Use those a lot. These guys use that. I mean, you can go through their bags, and you're going to find both of those balls, and maybe more than one. All right, moving down to the next line. Thunder line.
Highroads.
Highroads. Highroad Solid.
We talked about Highroad. 6 years now, coming up in October, and then a Highroad Pearl. Still, I mean, a Highroad Pearl is, we always joke about it, it's like someone kicks it down the end of the pattern. So we always had that ball that wants to make big motion off the spot. So, and then you got a Highroad Solid now, smoother off the spot, and a Highroad that's just blends the two out with the hybrid cover. So just in those 3 balls like Fagan was talking about, There's 3 balls that can fit a broad range of players.
Randy, can I just say about this particular line, the pitch black? It's quite publicized. I haven't had a lot of success on shorter patterns, and I've really worked very hard in doing that. At the Summer Swing, at the Oklahoma Open, we had to play 8 games of qualifying in the match play portion on the Wolf pattern, 32 feet. I used the pitch black and shot 280 over or 70 over with that ball. It was my highest score I have on a shorter pattern, and I couldn't have done it without that true urethane ball that we're able to come out with. And any high rev guy out there that has a little trouble on the shorter patterns, get that pitch black into your arsenal, because I assure you, I work pretty hard and I've come up with some ideas on shorter patterns, and all it took was you guys to come up with an unbelievable ball.
That's a great point, Jason. How about the hot light?
So you go lights out, punch out, wipe out, and it's supernatural. That turbine core that you find in the lights out and the punch out and the wipe out, it's been, once again, a staple in our line for a long time. I mean, that goes even prior to the FE2. Great success. It was a high-end ball for us at one point, and now it's down into the hot line.
I finished 3rd in Hammond, Indiana, using lights out, shorter pattern. Looked unbelievable.
And the joke we always talk about is lights out. It's like a mini Highroad. It's just a little weaker than a Highroad. Similar characteristics in a cover stock, but just a pinch weaker. And then punch out and wipe out's great complements in a Pearl and a Solid.
Anything new in the tropical line?
A couple of new colors. We got, if you see the 2 new colors, the teal and the orange, and then the teal and the blue. Trying to just bring a couple of new colors to the line, a couple of great fragrances. It's a staple for us. I mean, there's 5 colors in that line, and it kind of fits all the demographics for women, kids, and men like us. I mean, the last honor score I bowled was with a red-black tropical breeze.
Listen, you want to open up a lane, maybe there's a little bit of friction out there. There's nothing wrong with having a tropical in your hand.
Yeah, it was wood. Yeah, a little friction on wood.
Right?
Yeah.
Wood, triple guardian. How about the ice line?
Once again, it's one of those things for us is it fulfills the end of the line.
Sure.
We needed a polyester ball. The black ice has been there. We had a few other colors in the past. We've been asked several times, are we going to expand that line any farther? In terms of a polyester, I said no. We want one polyester ball, and there's a couple of urethanes in there. If you notice the mix, and I guess the biggest selling point in a mix is you're trying to go to a price point, a little bit more performance than a plastic ball. But the neat thing is, you have 6 and 8 pound urethane balls. For the younger generation, we know that if a pro shop drills a 6 or 8 pounder in a plastic, about 70% of the time the ball breaks. So now you can drill a 6 or 8 pound urethane ball, and I'll tell you a funny story, and I know we got about 60 seconds. No, we own this show. We can do what we want. Anyway.
Yes, sir. You certainly can.
So we had a 6 pound mix, and Corbett Austin, he's not here with us, but he's our head of operations. He's 6'4", he's bouncing a 6 pound mix around the warehouse. He's testing durability.
Sure.
And he's basically playing basketball. He goes all the way from his office, all the way back to the pro shop, and then we're doing some tests on it because I just want to make sure it's going to be durable. So obviously that was pretty durable, and we know that the worst thing can happen is you drill a young kid a ball, 6 pounder, he gets about 3 games with it, and then it comes back and it's broke, and he's devastated, and the pro shop goes, oh my gosh, and it's a frustrating deal. I mean, I saw it back in the day many, many times when we decided to expand the ice line a little bit to a mix. We made sure it was urethane, made sure it was a little more durable, so that 6 to 16 pounds, it's a good product.
So, I mean, the message here, folks, is pretty simple. It's versatility. It's having a complete line from top to bottom.
Oh, by far. I mean, we spend countless hours. I mean, sometimes Vic gets probably a little irritated with me is that I'll just sit down in his office and we just start, well, hey, I think we could do this a little bit better, and I think we can do this. And then he looks up at the ceiling. Yeah, I think we can do that.
I only black out for 5 to 10 minutes at a time.
Well, when his eyes roll back into his head, those are the best times because he's postulating. I'm like, the calculator's working, the calculator's working. So,
the numbers, they're
beautiful
floating
mind.
around. I gotta find them.
Russell Crowe. I always call him Russell Crowe, right?
Seeing all these numbers in front of him. It's good stuff. Guys, thanks so much. Hank Boomershine, always a pleasure. Victor, great having you. Rhino Page.
Oh, man.
Jason Belmonte.
It hits hot.
It hits really hot,
It hits real
especially when you throw it like Jason. Folks, stay with us. There's lots more to come from Storm Live here at the 2014 Bull Expo at the Orlando Convention Center.